in touch with whatever conversation we are putting up. And tonight on my panel, I have Reverend Jibril Akabo, the Director of Communications at the National Commission for Democracy. Reverend, good evening and welcome to YV on Sunday. Right, I have Ali Conte, a member of the Publicity Committee of the Opposition All People's Congress Party, who is here replacing CD Yaya Chimis. Ali, good evening and welcome to the show.
Yeah, good evening, my brother. Thanks for having me.
Right, I have a member from the Public Relations Office of the Sierra Leone People's Party, Salu Gomulago, who is also here representing the National Publicity Secretary, Lahai Lawrence Lima. Good evening, Salu.
Good evening, Samuel. Good evening, listeners.
All right, Lucien Momo from the Political Parties Regulation Commission is yet to join the conversation, but we're moving on. And let's just have an understanding, first off, Reverend. I'm going to start off with you. I mean, if you're to put into perspective, how significant has political rallies been over time in the political culture of Sierra Leone? How would you paint that for us?
Very interesting. If you ask me to paint a picture about political rallies in Sierra Leone, they've not been productive. They've not been useful at all in terms of actually getting campaign messages to the people. Because what we see for most of the time is our compatriots in drunken stupor dancing through the streets of Freetown and other big cities in the country. So if you ask me in terms of its contribution to, let's even say, a democracy, honestly, I don't think I have seen much of it, apart from using such rallies to massage the ego of politicians and manipulating the... For us at NCD, Samuel, let me put it this way. This campaign did not start now. During the 2018 elections,
the campaign to end political rallies?
Yes, to look for alternative means to political rallies, especially in the way we've been practicing in Sierra Leone.
Right.
In 2018, I was on podium and saying that politicians should treat the citizens of Sierra Leone in a manner that is far better or proper than to ask me to jump to the streets. Whatever ideas you have, in terms of winning my vote, take me to a designated place or come knock on my door, as it is done in other places. Buy your time. Come to a studio like this. See the display of outright lawlessness. It does not matter which political party we are talking about. That has always happened. We see people actually taking substances that are banned, drugs and alcohol in the open. We also see violence being traded. For hate speech, that is just part of the game. So this talk about it for me does not make any sense.
Let me ask a question. Let's look at it this way. Let's look at democratization and elections. We've seen over time where one of the key features of elections is participation.
Definitely.
And so many are saying this is how the ordinary citizens have been participating in the political arena.
How profitable is that? When, for most of the time, when our brothers take to the street in the name of political rallies, meaningful businesses are going to to close for that day, which means a reduction in whatever revenue government will get. And anybody who is actually a sober businessman will not attempt to open his shop or of getting their support. Let's avoid the situation that we've been experiencing as a nation.
How about that that's personal connection, the politicians and the people? When you know at rallies, you see they're going to wave to the people, they're going to shake hands and all of that.
Since 1961, as an independent nation, that is what we've been doing. Until date, the people are still crying. Let the politicians know that when they learn to treat us with respect, then we know they are serious in meeting the needs of the people. Year in, year out, one electoral cycle after the other, whether it is this party that is in power or the other party that's in power, it's the same story, the same narrative. But has anything changed in terms of the welfare of the people? Somewhere, let's look at the social and economic challenges that we experience as a country. Why would I, in my right senses, actually jump behind a politician to dance in the streets? If you are serious about getting a social contract with me, come to my residence for the rights of others. Your right to swing your hand can go as far as where the nose of the next person begins. So if the right to swing your hand goes beyond that particular point, then you have not exercised your rights properly. You've actually infringed on the rights of another person. And when we talk about rights, they should actually go with responsibilities.
Right. We'll come to look at the details. Let me hear the precursory remark from Ali Conte. What does the APC make of these developments in the political space, especially when we have barely 84 days to the polls? In the audience will love the cap too. You can put a cap on the table.
Thank you very much. Like I said, the APC has never subscribed to the statement made by the PPRC. And we are even shocked that the PPRC is presenting a case in this manner, saying that, all political parties have agreed a ban on political rallies. In that meeting, the APC was represented by no less persons but the National Secretary General and Dr. Richard Conte, wherein, they presented a case, why should the PPRC, place a ban on political rallies. Wherein, if you go to the Public Elections Act of 2022, it is very clear, Section 48 that she was able to ask is that if a particular place has been designated for meetings with our supporters or sympathizers, are these people coming from the same direction to attend those meetings? Do they stay at the same place? How do you expect them to work? Is the commission or the, so these are some of the questions that, rallies are always after you meet at a particular designation or a place where the messages of the political parties.
So are you saying the APC is against the decision?
Yes, of course.
You just mentioned
the blanket ban on political
rallies. If you take a look at Sierra Leone,
incumbent. They have the free will to go about, talking to people. Wherein you see people gather or people moving from one direction to another. It gives advantage, undue advantage to the current government. What we are asking here is, let the regulations that the PPRC is putting in place, it should create a level playing field for us, the opposition political.
Who do you think this ban would favor?
Honestly, it's the incumbents. How it will favor the incumbent. Let me just give you a scenario. When the peace conference was called at Binchumani 3, right? I mean, as APC, we are not invited to participate in that particular program, but we saw during the course of that Binchumani peace conference, we saw impersonations, right, from SLPP party youth impersonating the APC, putting on APC party t-shirt, right? Ascribing on their banners that this is APC political party, APC Ghetto Youth. I mean, for me then, as the Secretary General of the APC National Youth Day, I've never registered such an organization, APC Ghetto Youth. The people on that video, I went to Aberdeen, saw the likes. I mean, I don't want to call the names here, but I know them. These are SLPP youth operatives. They impersonated the APC, right? Now the PPRC has decided to come up with laws. When the APC, after electing its flag bearer at McKinney recently, I mean, they decided to institute laws which can hold political parties responsible. That here you should not play ABC and these songs in your political processions or rally. And the APC accepted that. Even fines were levied. That if we happens during your procession or your political programs, if ABC and the PPRC happens to see you with some of these things, these are the punishment. And we saw where in the APC was unduly, right, targeted, fined, and the APC accepted and paid this fine. What we are saying...
When you submitted, Ali, when you submitted that this ban only benefits the ruling party, the SLPP, how? Because the SLPP also would not be rallying, because, I mean, the ban also targets the SLPP as a political party. So how would they benefit from this?
Let me say this one. As opposition parties, whenever you want to take, to the street with regards to carrying out your political activities, you'll be required by the Sierra Leone police to go for police clearance. And most at times when you go for this police clearance, they will not be granted. Right. But I'm asking whether some of these requests are also, being extended to the current government. But I'm seeing, as I'm talking now, campaigns has not been declared by the National Electoral Commission. But we are seeing the current government going all over the place in the name of thank you tours, campaigning. And if the APC happens to do that, just as I'm speaking now, right, the candidate of the presidential candidate of the APC was supposed to come from, Port Loco to Freetown. We had what happened. It was blocked, prevented. Then I was saying that if these particular actions could also be instituted against the current government, where the president is the fountain of honor, his commander-in-chief, whether if he wants to move with a number of vehicles from a particular direction to another, will go and ask for police clearance, wherein he is the commander-in-chief. What we are saying here, if these laws are to be implemented, where in manner in which the PPRC was able to present is unfair to the APC. We never subscribe to some of these bans, consultations. They are just putting the cart before the horse. Just a few days back, they were saying that it was only 3 political parties that are qualified or that are functional to participate. How many of these political parties that were present in that meeting, that they say they consulted political parties that agreed? For us, the APC, our representation was no less a person, but the head of administration for the APC, Lawyer Lansana Doumbia and Dr. Richard Conte, right? They opposed the way and manner in which the PPRC was to go about this particular ban. And they asked them that in the event, a politician or the party is supposed to have a particular program, let me say at the National Stadium, how do you expect them to take their supporters to the National Stadium? Do they have to come from the same direction? Do they stay in the same place? Let's have rules. The PPRC has started that one, that if you are supposed to process, make sure you control your supporters. For me, what I'm hearing from other school of thought, that rallies has created, you cannot, we are enjoying democracy.
So I want to ask, what have been the benefits of these political rallies over time?
You know, these are form of publicity that are accepted. Even in you go to the the Electoral Commissions Act, it is very clear that political parties should, after the elections calendar has been agreed upon, they will publish this calendar, right? Wherein political parties will be given specific dates, and wherein they will go out there to canvass supporters. Mind you, some of these people that normally participate in these political rallies are already members. At times, you do this publicity in order to attract members that are in between, the undecided voters. And let me tell you, when normally some of us participate in some of these rallies, I've been able to convince friends, if Ali can go to the street and rally with this particular political, I think, let me see how best I can pitch tent with these political parties. It has been very, very much beneficial. Looking at the political, not even Sierra Leone is not an exception. Go to the sub-region, right? We saw in Kenya, we saw in Nigeria, in elections, before elections, I mean, rallies are part of the constitution.
All right, we'll come to look at how does the APC plan to engage the Political Party Registration Commission to have a rethink. Let me bring in Salu from the SLPP. What's the position of the SLPP on the ban?
Thank you very much, Samuel. I think I would love to make a concern with respect to the subject matter.
What's the concern?
I know the topic you have or you coined is the ban on political rallies,
right?
The implications on our electoral culture. So what is clear is we have to do justice to the listening audience. The ban is not ban on political rallies. The ban is a ban on street rallies. And this is the subject matter. We have to be very clear.
Yeah, go ahead. Just forget about it. Yes.
When we talk of rallies, these are gatherings. These are meetings where people are opportune to meet and drive a certain cause. It could be social, political, and whatnot. So Sierra Leone, of course, is a democratic state. And if we speak about the interest of the citizenry, we have to be very clear with respect to the provisions of our national laws. Specifically, the Constitution of Sierra Leone, Act Number 6, 1991, is very instructive. Chapter 5, Section 5, subsection 2B, says that the primary responsibility of government is to ensure peace, security, and maximize welfare of its citizenry or the people. Having this in mind, we equally have to relate this provision to Chapter 3 of the very Constitution.
Which says?
Which says the recognition and protection of fundamental human rights and freedoms of the individual.
Right.
What is clear there is not freedom for a specific group of people, political party, but freedoms of the individual. So this is the premise. Now, why did the PPRC?
First off, is the SLPP in support of the initiative?
The SLPP is an institution of compliance, which means we've always observed, we've always complied to the laws of the state.
So you were consulted and you agreed that this is what should...
Certainly. We are not an exception to the 17 political parties that were consulted. And the PPRC resolved on the basis of the views of these political parties.
You talk about state obligations of the government to protect its citizens.
Certainly.
Security, the peace and tranquility of the nation. But putting into context, the people who form the government are members of a group that is competing against another group. In this situation, the SLPP is in governance. And the SLPP is a political party that will compete or contest against the APC in the June 24th polls. So how would those thoughts, those views about having state obligations not being will not be abused or misused in the sense to favor the SLPP as a political party?
Thank you very much. Samuel, you see, electoral culture and our political systems are not rocket sciences. Like our laws, they are always subject to review. So it is political parties that run on their campaign messages with their appropriate candidates during elections. Once these political parties have voted, they in return form government, which is to relax the argument against incumbency. Let's not play the card that is because the SLPP is in governance, it will go the SLPP way.
That's what Ali just
Matter of fact, yes, while he was making the submission, I was touched. You know, a number of us who are, you know, in our youthful age, we've admired, you know, we've really participated over time in these street rallies, right? Political rallies, of course, go beyond street rallies. There are other options.
How would other rallies take place when street rallies are banned? In the sense, if I am coming from my constituency and I'm a community mobilizer, I have to mobilize my people. And let's say we are to converge at the National Stadium. We have to go through the streets. We have to rally through the street. But if that is banned, then what is the way? How do we then converge?
Yes. What is the argument is, over time, there has been an abuse. There has been a misplacement of the intended purpose for street rallies. And to answer your question, I think Ali said PPRC in consultation with political parties, as well as security, we bring out guidelines. So they have to speak to that. By my knowledge around assembling supporters of political parties at a specific designation, we speak to fact that that is an appropriate platform for political leaders to speak to us, to bring messages to the electorate, for them to convince us. In fact, by extension, those guardians, those platforms can be echoed through a medium like the AYV and the rest of us.
Why is the SLPP okay with this ban as a political party?
Yes, thank you very much, Samuel. The SLPP is okay with the ban on street rallies because, like I said earlier, we are a party of tolerance. Of course, we always comply to laws. Now, we make reference to our party constitution, 2020. The SLPP party constitution, of course, is guided by objectives. Primarily, articles 5, 10, 11, and 12. And these provisions echoed national integration, unity, tolerance across divide, compliance to international protocols, promotion of patriotism, and to uphold national interest, individual freedoms, as well as the maximization of the well-being of Sierra Leoneans. If you examine this, it's reconciled with the provisions of our Grand Norm Law, which is the Sierra Leone Constitution, 1991. Which is why, if we say these are our provisions, these are our guiding, rules and regulations, and PPRC, mind you, is an extension of government. It is provided for by the Constitution itself, Section 34 and 5 of the 1991 Constitution, and the PPRC Act itself, 2000, Act number 3 of 2002. These are all state laws. So we have to comply. This is why the SLPP, by extension, believes.
But the ban itself is not provided for in any law, correct?
Which is why I said electoral culture, which deals with our behavioral patterns, our attitude, our reactions to elections, generally, are not rocket sciences. It does not mean, or it does not make the arguments that because we have been practicing them, meaning they cannot be reviewed. They are always subject, just like our laws. They are subject to review. We can examine them. In fact, I am of the opinion that countries that are very peaceful, countries that are, peace-loving nations, we get to learn from Sierra Leone. If you go to places like Egypt, during electoral periods, you are only going to know by way of seeing the indication of posters, pictures of aspiring candidates. You don't see, semblance of these practices that Sierra Leone is still crippling with. You heard what Reverend said. This has not just happened spontaneously. He made a flashback to 2018. Institutions like the NCD, PPRC, all electoral, interested bodies, they've been condemning, the outright disregard to public safety, public order, and security. And of course, matter of fact, myself and Ali were here a couple of days ago discussing peace and national cohesion. So if we give credit to some of these minuses, it is equally saying we are subjecting our party interest to undermining the very foundational principles of democracy, the rule of law, human rights, and the rest of others.
All right. Gentlemen, continue to stay with me. Let's quickly join some Sierra Leoneans. By the way, we still look forward to receiving Lucien Momo from the Political Parties Regulation Commission to give us the rationale behind the ban for us to really understand what's necessitated. These, whether or not there are data, there is data that speaks to this based on evidence, based on some of the things that people have ascribed to political rallies. But let's join some Sierra Leoneans. As we went out, we sought the views of some Sierra Leoneans on what do they think of this ban, and they shared some of their thoughts with us.
From where I gain experience in my life, where I start from voting at this country, it's not easy. I don't want to come across them discussion they are something like ban rally because rally is now part of election. So that day I thought I could say we all for make fun, for mix. Yeah, everybody not for the one side. Meaning if we all lay SLPP, still not go sweet. But if we start to people like the APC, then the other party the SLPP, the other people like the SLPP, the fun, the interact, you understand? Make fun, crack fun, play and laugh. So like if they say they ban rally, as for me, it don't make sense to me.
First of all, we born meet rally. And rally, they will make people express their feeling, support their party. But they can't ban rally now. I'm more strained to the citizen and country. Because someone ain't doing business, then someone ain't able to get everything they eat. So ban rally, as for which citizen will not go take care. And acceptable for some more acceptance over ban the rally.
Actually, the use to citizen. I know you need to any side of the world with the students manually because of one reason or another. Because I know see strategy thinking, we PPRC with security, we are in inside any political party to go with the rally. Then the rally, we will foresee the collide with like the APC or another the SFP. Because let's forget the timetable, we are in the APC rally today, then 2 days ahead, SFP rally. I think there is still can say, but we thought for the same certain there is fear of violence, but I'm not sure if it can be taking violence because violence we see from it that doors to doors campaign, brutality also to create again another violence.
We find for them bandam because whenever in the rally, confusion, thief, when are people in shop, thief, die the commodity, wound, fete, so now that make it necessary for them bandam. Then they do post to post campaign.
Actually, I think my wise move from PPRC because if you look at the rally and look at the nature of the election coming, you find out it's necessary for you to ban the rally to avoid unnecessary uprisings. Then clash and misunderstandings can be ban because looking at the tension during the election, this 2020 election gets, I believe, say the ban the rally for calm the atmosphere of the election.
Looking at the political, ways in which we don't go about the elections in the countries and then the political system of the country. I think rally will don't be the best way wherein politicians that they're able to mobilize voters there and then for able to talk to them and for convince them that coming up with this new system of campaign or rallies we may not understand. And you look at other countries, I think so every other countries are in advanced countries, they can always get rallies for election because it is part of electoral process. Electoral process not only mean for go begin the vote just for going to a police station and cast the vote. No. But even rallies, campaigns, they are also part of that. And me, I not buy the idea.
Well, I welcome the idea because I don't know what people are really dance for this country. The country needs to get serious thinkers because the problem with the Democrats and the political leaders, they don't go on the campaign for just they dance for let people they dance for them. What they dance for? When they will perform, I don't advise that they say, me, they nobody no dance for me. They nobody no sing for me because what you do, I don't perform it as a political leader. I will not see all the politics what they like this country. The dance will not take place. I don't know if it's there. That's the end of hardship. People in the grumble, things that is escalate and market because they shut the deal and say, well, let them, what they will perform it. So I beg the people, this dancing, this political rallies, they don't exhaust and keep people in terms of nothing. Some man they grab my host to get it for it, they go rally. You don't know what will happen to you. And we don't like this kind of dancing when they take place at the country. Because the political leaders, they don't
Since the democratic state today and people they need to participate in politics and one way they need to participate by rallying for them also the support. So I think that the right, basic human rights to do that and I don't feel say it will be good for put a particular plan or something where the people can be.
Because I wonder, I never meet standing in my life. From what born, anytime there's an election, party they must rally. APC, SLPP, PMDC, Boku party they will know. They must rally. So I wonder now why they agree this story. So it does doubt me.
Well, Pape, I'm not for ban this rally because this rally, when they rally, now they will serve the youth man who they survive. The party they remember we so great. Rally for the goal.
Rally for the goal.
All right, those are views from some Sierra Leoneans on the ban on political rallies by the Political Parties Regulation Commission. I still have Reverend Jubila Kabu from the National Commission for Democracy. I have Ali from the APC and Salu from the SLPP. Lucy and Momo from the PPRC is here to join us. But Reverend, let me ask this question. We are talking about the rights, fundamental rights of human rights of others, and those rights come with responsibilities. Now, do you think steps would be taken during the implementation of this ban not to infringe on the rights of the people, say the right to assembly, for example? How would that pan out?
The simple answer to that question is the regulations should be detailed enough to determine how people go about campaigns. Now, let's make a few clarifications here.
Go ahead.
Talking about, I don't even want to call it a ban on political rallies. It is actually regulating how parties go about campaigning. Because to campaign in elections, that is just the way to go. But what we've been saying since 2018, and I want the people of this country to pay attention to what I'm saying. Let's not appear as if it's only today that we started talking about it. We've been on it after we conducted our State of the Nation survey on democracy. We now, around that electoral cycle, went to radio stations and television stations to say, this thing is not working in the interest of anybody. Let's look for ways and means to ensure it's regulated. Now, let's also get this. What we've seen over the years between, especially the oldest parties in this country, is that when once it appears as if one is in support of one thing, the other will go against it. It has always happened. When APC was in power, whatever APC says, SLP will go against it. Now it's SLP in power, whatever it appears as if SLP is saying, APC will go against it. But let's people understand this. Even in this ban, SLPP is not 100% in support of it. Let's face that reality. They are not 100% in support of it.
The representative here is
I know he's here. He has spoken on was it on Thursday or which day last week? I was on television with Lima. That was the presentation. That they endorsed it with reservation. And it's always these two political parties. My appeal to our politicians from these two political parties is give us a break as citizens of this country. Some of us are fed up with the wrangling that is happening. We want to see where we build consensus on things that are progressive for this nation. It's not just, well, for the sake of opposition, because I am doing this. And at the same time, we appeal to the incumbent to ensure that they are magnanimous in their victory, to bring everybody on board so that we have the right direction that we are moving. But I bet you, if powers are to change hands again, you will see the same thing playing out. And that is what we need to stop in this country.
Let me ask this question, looking on the positive side. I mean, going back by what one of the people we spoke to in that Vox Pop, it's very clear that on polling day, of course, we've had on rallies, we've had many stories that citizens are given money and given T-shirts to go and for that the young man there, for example, that's how they survive.
It's survival.
So taking that away from them at this point,
that is something we need to stop. To let the politicians and the citizens of this country know that politics goes beyond just survival. When you come to ask me to give you the rights to rule over me, we are signing a social contract, which should imply that it's not just that the few cups of rice that you're going to give to me or the T-shirt you give to me around campaign period. It is about ensuring you fix the economy so that opportunities are created for everybody. When we begin to think in that direction, we call our politicians to order and ask them to be accountable. And that is why, for me, it's even insulting for a politician to ask me to leave whatever I'm doing and to go dance in the streets on his behalf, when you should come to me and tell me what plans you have to govern my country. And if in totality, or a significant number of Sierra Leoneans will now begin to tell politicians, you cannot give me packs of Total Pack or other alcohol and ask me to go to the streets, and you call that political rally, it's actually what? Misusing or abusing my intelligence as a citizen of this country. Rather, you should create an atmosphere where I can talk to you face to face and ask you burning questions about what plans you have for the various sectors in this country. And there is one thing that we must not miss out in this campaign period. We must ask our politicians, what agenda do they have for the peace and unity of this country? What agenda do they have for political tolerance? These are things that we must face our politicians with, rather than talking about the ban or no ban on political rallies. But please, in advanced democracies, there are regulations on campaigns. It's not everything that you do.
Let me ask you this question, Reverend. Monumentally, Leone, I mean, the abject poverty is something we're about every now and then. Moments like political rallies, for the ordinary Mami Fatu or Momodu, where they dung the road, where they print both APC and SLP people, they hang their back in enjoy because foreign are business, not all about politics. And you have Fatu, where they go na Guinea for go buy a shobi, during this period, if it's not entering any business to thrive, how would this ban affect people like that? Because people feel like, oh, every 5 years I have an opportunity. That at the end of the day, I know there will come a month or two that I will, my business will thrive. I'll get these politicians because that's when things, maybe I will be able to save for some period and I survive.
Samuel, it is that thinking that is responsible for the way our politicians treat us. We create the fanfare around elections, and after that, I go about my business. You don't have rights to ask me any question. We must make our politicians accountable if we are to experience progress in this country. The street dancing, in fact, the business that you are talking about, it is actually not going to end. You can still sell your t-shirts of the different colors of the different political parties. You go to the town hall meetings, which are done in other countries, even if it's the community field. Have politicians consider this? Which will be more effective? On the day, let's say for instance, it's the day for APC or SLP to campaign in a particular area. Instead of allowing people to exhaust themselves to dance from one end of the place to another, why not hold them in different meetings where it can be productive? You engage them in this small arrangement and you talk to them. You are able to woo them. Campaign, it's not time for just the laziness and the dancing. It's serious business. And the politicians and the people of this country should know that when we talk about campaigning to win my vote, it's not just fun fear or matter of survival. It's serious business about the governance of the country. When we get it wrong from that particular point, it's wrong all the way because the politician will tell you, I actually paid for your vote. And so what are you going to ask? What question are you going to ask me? But if we hold them to account and we do not allow them to pay for our votes, when they are there to govern us, we can ask them all the critical questions, regardless of which political party is in power.
Ali, I mean, we know during these rallies, that's when the razzmatazz, the funfair, everything, that's when we get to see them. And also, over time, we've seen where that's the period APC and SL people would come out and they say, we pull card past them. We pull card past other get card past in company and they treat. But in essence, really, what does this rally, political rally or street rally, what does it give to the political parties in terms of a platform to espouse their policies on really what agenda should Sierra Leoneans vote them?
Yeah, honestly speaking, I hope or I wish the other public institutions, could be objective as Dr. Kagbo is saying here. And this is the challenges that us political parties are having with established institutions that are supposed to regulate, the activities of politicians or political parties. If it happens to institute regulations, let these regulations be implemented squarely, giving a level playing field into political actors. To the point again with regards to these political rallies. Honestly, my brother, the issue of political violence has nothing to do with public or state rallies. If your party is disciplined, your activities, your events will always be peaceful. But let's look at an instance. Recently, there was an SLPP activity.
But it's never been peaceful over time. All the reports we've been doing, political rallies, beat SLPP, beat APC, there have always been incidents of violence over time. We've always reported those things.
Yeah, well, honestly, the issue of violence amongst political street rallies will normally not to the vox pops from citizens is that, say, political rallies are part of campaigns. It enables the citizens to express their views. These views are some things that are the things that are prompting some of these unfair regulations is another old debate, right? Because citizens expressing their views about government promising A, B, C, and D and failing to fulfill those promises, and you want to stop the people, I mean citizens, from expressing their dissatisfaction about the unfulfilled promises, then we have to look at it again. Then with regards to the topic under discussion, my brother, let the PPRC, the Political Parties Regulation Commission, the Electoral Commission, and even the Sierra Leone Police, whenever the rallies are to be held, especially street rallies, there are always a designated meeting point wherein the leaders of these political parties will meet, talk their political manifesto to their supporters, and also try to law. I mean, other people that are seated on the fence. So when you happens to give the go ahead to political parties to rally, you, the Sierra Leone Police, they should designate the routes that should be used in order to allay the fear that Dr. Cabo is talking about here, in order not to disturb other citizens that are going about their normal activities. This should be the role of the Sierra Leone Police. Designate the routes where these political parties should use in order to allow other citizens to go about their normal activities.
But political parties,
yes,
whenever they're in opposition, when the SLPP was in opposition, they never trusted the Sierra Leone Police. Now, the APC has always expressed concerns around the police.
Yeah.
So even when the Office of National Security made a decision to ban the use of marshals, that's again created concerns by political parties. The APC was concerned that that was not fair because the state cannot provide adequate security for opposition politicians. So why would you now depend on the Sierra Leone Police to provide adequate security for you when over time the allegation has been the Sierra Leone Police sides with the party in governance?
You know, honestly, by the way, where praise should be given, we always do that one. The APC as a disciplined political parties has held several gatherings of over hundreds of thousands of people, where no single incident of violence was reported.
Right.
So like I was saying, the issue of political violence has nothing to do with public rallies. Like I was about to say, recently the SLPP was having a meeting or a political event at Moyamba. A journalist was almost beaten to death. Does that have to do anything with public political rallies? No, the APC was gathered at its party headquarters sometime in 2019. We were bulldozed by the Sierra Leone Police. We are tear gas members. We have, brutality. Was drop on us because I was also at the party office then. Then recently also we saw the activities of.
I'm afraid, let me just hold you there quickly. We've been able to establish contact with the chairman of the Political Parties Regulation Commission, lawyer Abdullahi Bangura, to just give us a rationale behind the ban. Lawyer Bangura, good evening and welcome to AYV on Sunday.
Good evening, someone.
Now, please just take us briefly what really initiated the ban on street rallies.
Well, actually, informed on when they were having their rallies. I mean, we were all in this country. We all witnessed what used to happen. Starting from all of the by-elections we had after 2018, the street rallies they had in those by-elections, they were marred with a lot of disturbances for the public, starting from Donkolimba, some death ensued, coming to 2110, where political opponents, Destin and property were attacked, and going to Benadugu and Kono, where we had a lot of obscenities, and then lately Samaya Bendugu and Koya. So the cause of the kind of things they were putting the public through when they come out with their supporters, the commission, we thought that we needed to have an evaluation of those street rallies. Are they really serving the purpose that they were meant to serve? Or in the alternative, they cease to have their essence. They have now been transformed into some circus and some lawless platform. So we put that question to all of the political parties. And we had PSO as well present. The press was also there. And we took the precaution of inviting our development partner just to witness the proceeding. And the issue was discussed extensively. At the end of the day, there was a balancing act. We look at the rights they association and assemble, and we look at the other rights of other people they were trampling upon when they come out with their supporters. And then we check the law. If you look at section 26(2), it is clearly stated there that when your right of association and assembly is restricted in pursuance of the protection of the rights of other persons and in the interest of public safety, public peace, and public morale, that cannot be interpreted as a transgression. So all of us deliberated on those issues, and at the end of the day, there was a unanimous decision of all of the parties.
Including the APC?
Including the APC.
So quickly, let me ask this question. Now, if you're trying to justify the decision as one that does not in any way violate any provision, be it the Constitution or the National Elections Act or the Political Parties Regulation Commission, how would the ban on political rallies now, for many, would that not affect negatively the democratic process?
That would definitely not impact in any process. And in the first place, it is not me justifying the ban on the rallies. This is not an imposition. It was very consultative, and we had deliberations on that, and all of us came up with an agreement. So this is not the PPRC imposing anything on political parties. We put it to everybody that was there, and we discussed the issue extensively. And definitely, we have tried this before. As I was saying, when we had all of those affrays, Tonko Limba, at constituency 110, even and Penadugu, we had to ban those rallies. And then after that, the political parties rally, in designated areas. So this was something, this was a conversation we had at the LEONE, and devoid of partisan sentiment and personal ambition. So it is not me justifying it.
All right.
I'm just reporting what happened.
Lawyer Bangura, what alternative methods of political campaigning are being considered to replace, these political rallies?
You will now campaign in designated areas. And one thing also we agreed on, government should make available all state infrastructures that are fit for purpose, for the purposes of conducting their rallies, to every political party evenly and at no cost. So, the decision that was reached was that instead of now calling our people to the street to rally, now political parties will look for designated areas where they will converge with their supporters, sending messages. And again, Samuel, we all know that the politicians are using these rallies to block the thinking process of our people. They go to those rallies drunk, and young people are there. They do not listen to any message. They are just there, a form of a jamboree, dancing and singing with no message, absolutely. And we think that elections are no period for, electionary periods are not meant for dancing and singing. These are periods that are meant for deep reflection and an evaluation of our political actors. Those who have been there, what did they do? Those who are there now, what are they doing? And those who intend to come there who have never been there, what is new that they have that is different from those who have been there and those who are there now? Those are the messages we expect. And not to call our people to the street and then you distract their attention, dancing and singing here and there, absolutely no message, and our people will not have the opportunity to sit down and think and then evaluate their political actors. We've danced enough in this country. I think it's enough. Let us begin to think seriously about our electioneering processes.
You talk about the rights of citizens. So what measures are being taken to ensure that the ban on political rallies does not infringe on the rights of citizens to freedom of expression and assembly?
That's what I'm saying. This was a comparative analysis. We look at the rights that they are claiming, those who are proponents of those street rallies, the rights they were talking about being violated. And then we look at the rights of other people they were violating. And then we did some comparative analysis, which one outweighs the other. When they were coming out with their street rallies, you will notice that the schools were closed, market people will not go to the market, even the offices, people will go to offices in a very fast form. All of that because people were fearful of suffering collateral damage because of the likelihood of confrontation between these political parties. And if you, in the exercise of your right, definitely that right should be premised on your observance of the right of others. But if in the process of enjoying your own right, then you are violating with reckless abandon the rights of other people, then the law should come in to checkmate you.
How will the ban be enforced, and what penalties will be imposed for non-compliance, Lawyer Bangura?
In fact, that was the other option I told them. I gave them. Aside from us discussing the advantages and disadvantages of street rallies, there was also the issue of the new Political Parties Act number 25 of 2022. Most of those conducts people were complaining about when these political parties called their supporters to the street, all of those conducts are now proscribed. And then you will notice that the conduct, they have not only prescribed those conducts, they have also prescribed penalties and sanctions for political parties who conduct themselves in those manners. And lately there was an instance where I had to find the APC and then caution the SLPP. And both of them did not take kindly to that. So I needed to have a dialogue launch with them to explain to them what the act says. You understand? And there was also this very annoying, behavior of the political parties. They will call these young people to the street, and when they fall foul of the law and they are arrested, they disown them. They dissociate themselves. And when people misconduct themselves and the police, in the exercise of their mandate, they come in to restore order, people will accuse the police. Oh, they were high-handed, they acted beyond. The action they took was not commensurate to what the political party. So, to save everybody, all of those discourse, let us just stop this. And Samuel, you will notice that, street rallies are now more or less peculiarities to Sierra Leone. They are not happening anywhere, even in the sub-region. Nigeria, they just had their election. We never saw street rallies there. People campaign in town hall meetings. They go to designated areas. Why do we keep this kind of conduct in this country? They are not happening anywhere. And aside from the internal threats these rallies are posing to the public peace, public morality, and public safety, you think about even externalities. The world we live in, you have a lot of organized crimes, terrorists everywhere. Thankfully, we do not have that kind of problem here. But that does not mean that we should be complacent. This is why all the other countries, even the people that we are copying these democratic practices, they no longer have street rallies. You don't have that in America, you don't have that in London. Because they know that aside from the internal threat, there are external threats as well. And the safety, the state has the right to preserve itself. So all of those considerations were raised.
Are there mechanisms in place to address concerns that might come up from the political parties with the implementation or enforcement of this ban?
Oh, definitely. The APC and the SLPP in particular, they raised those concerns. Some of the concerns they raised were that,
unfortunately, I think we've lost contact with Lawyer Bangura, but we'll also try to establish the link there again with him. So when we have him, we would continue the conversation with him. The show is AYV on Sunday, and tonight we're looking at the ban on political rallies by the Political Parties Regulation Commission. And on my panel, I have Reverend Jibril Akagbo from the National Commission for Democracy. I have Ali Conte from the Opposition All People's Congress Party, and I have Salu Gombulango from the Sierra Leone People's Party discussing this issue. So Ali, you were responding, and you've had the chairman of the Political Parties Regulation Commission, Lawyer Abdullah Bangura, saying the decision was unanimous. The APC supported it.
That is why it's really unfortunate that we participated. As I said, we are represented by no less persons, but the National Secretary General and Dr. Richard Conte, who are charged with that mandate to engage with the Political Parties Regulation Commission.
Ali, forgive me. Let me just round up with the chairman of the commission. Lawyer Bangura, welcome again.
Yeah, thank you very much, Samuel. So as I was saying, respecting those concerns they raised, the action point that was agreed on is that the commission, both the two electoral commissions, the electoral management body, the ECSL and PPRC, we are to meet with the security sector actors so that we draw up the guidelines as to how the membership and supporters of political parties should conduct themselves while going to those rallies and coming from those rallies. And we also expect the goodwill of the political party. This question keeps coming up. The APC also agreed. Everything that happened in that consultative meeting was recorded. But because we have not had any official denial from the party itself, these are just bits and pieces from other corners, we have decided not to respond. But everybody that spoke in that meeting is on tape. We know.
Bangura, just quickly, the APC is represented here tonight, and the APC is saying they were consulted, they objected to the decision of the ban, and they are in no way in support. They didn't agree at all. And they said, the Secretary General.
Who is in the studio representing the APC?
Ali Conte is in the studio.
He was not at the meeting.
He said the Secretary General represented the party at the meeting, but the Secretary General clearly told them that they.
His precise words were, we also do not want to see people perpetrating lawlessness, and therefore we are not averse. But our concern is, how will this be implemented, fairly, without allowing one party to rally, and when the other party does that, you come after them. You understand? So he had concern, but he did say that it's not averse. We have the tape. But as I said, until we get the official denial, then we'll come out with the evidence for the public to judge. Some of these things, I don't know. But this is not about us. It's not about the commission. It's not about anybody. This is about Saloon. What is the essence of all of those gatherings they were having? And as I said, why is it that it's only in Sierra Leone that this is happening? I will challenge anybody to show me an example of any other country where people will call supporters to the streets during electionary period to dance and sing. And at the end of the day, when they do so and the people misconduct themselves, they are quick at saying, even when I find them, they've taken me to court, that those people who are singing, they are not members of the APC and that they were not heard. So you see some of these things, it's difficult. But let us, one, begin to accept what we did. But as I said, when we have the official denial, they make it official, then we'll provide the evidence for the public to judge. That's why when we call meetings, everything that happens there is on tape.
Just before we round off this conversation with you, Lawyer Bangura, what assurances would you want to give these political parties and Sierra Leoneans that at the end of the day, the enforcement of this ban will be fair and square?
Lawyer Bangura will not give any assurance to anybody. This is about all of us. Everybody has to give an assurance, and everybody has to put hands on deck to ensure that this election is about issues, and our people will not be frightened away from the electionary process by people misconducting themselves with reckless abandon. So it is not me giving assurance. It is everybody that is concerned with the electionary period. The political parties, the CSO, everybody concerned, all the EMBs. All of us have to put hands on deck and ensure that this is successful. So it's not me that is to assure the public. All we can do as a commission, when we see problem, we'll bring it up to the fore. And when we bring the problem to the fore, we make it consultative. We just did not come out as a commission and said we are putting a ban on rallies. That's why we call a meeting. And we throw the issue to all the political parties, and everybody had his own say. So if we are to implement what we agreed on, it should be the business of everybody that was in that meeting and everybody that has to do with elections to come together. Let us for once think as Sierra Leoneans and consider the safety of this country. Now, they're the very politicians, because of their utterances over the years, they've made the politics very toxic. They've made politics very toxic. Their ethno-regional, rhetorics, their tribal slurs, and the hate speech, and very intemperate languages they've been peddling on social media. They've all rendered the politics of this country very toxic. So all of us have a responsibility to ensure that we diffuse those tensions and create the enabling environment for electoral management bodies to do their work.
Finally, I'm sure you are not oblivious of what opposition political parties are accusing the PPRC of. So the question is, how tough and positioned is the PPRC to undertake its mandate, especially with the new with its new mandate as a regulatory commission?
That's why they had the option, Samuel. They had the option that we either ban the rallies, or in the alternative, if you chose to maintain those rallies, you should be prepared to hold up for anything that happens in those rallies. When you as a political party, you call out your supporters in the street, if anything happens, then you should know that there are not sanctions prescribed and you should be prepared to pull up. So there are two options. It's either to maintain the rallies and then get your supporters to abide by the law, or in the alternative, if you cannot contain your supporters when you call them to the street, then you should be prepared to pull up to anything that will happen. And they chose the latter, that no. Instead, let us ban the rallies and let us rally in designated areas. You're talking about right of assembly and right of assembly can be in anywhere. We have not infringed on anybody's right of assembly. That is why when you gather in a designated area, you have assembled, you've associated. So the right they are talking about is the right about dancing with very rude song and very ungood conduct from their supporters. That's what they are complaining about. But nobody has infringed on anybody's right to assemble and associate. You assemble in a designated area, that's assembly. What we think should not happen is to let our people to dance all the time, and then they will not have time to think and evaluate these politicians, what they have done and what they intend to do.
All right. Thank you very much, Lawyer Abdullahi Bangura, for accepting to speak to us in such a short notice. Thank you very much, Lawyer Bangura. That was the chairman of the Political Parties Regulation Commission, Lawyer Abdullahi Bangura, speaking to us there on the ban. Ali, you were responding.
Yes, thank you very much once again, and I want to appreciate the chairman. We are talking about the rights, to freedom of assembly. It is also enshrined in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights of the General Assembly of the United Nations. That Article 20, that everyone has the right to freedom of peaceful assembly. I think singing and dancing, expressing your views about the failures of the manifesto promises of a government is nothing unruly. What we are saying here as a political party is that the chairman of the PPRC, the Regulation Commission for Political Parties, is very clear here, referencing the Komon-Tok issue, the Constituency 110 issue, and then also we are seeing other highly placed members in society going out there doing their thank you tours, expressing hate speeches against members of a certain political parties. Our fear here is the PPRC and other government institutions that are charged with a mandate to regulate the conduct of political parties has never been able to call to book or to caution some of these highly placed individuals in society about the way they go about their thank you tour or the speeches that they make. Sierra Leone is a country of law-abiding citizens, and we as the APC has always tried to go to abide by the law. Constituency 110, we saw the perpetrators. They were never brought to book, right? And Tonko-Limba elections, we know the perpetrators. These were not even public rallies. They were not street rallies. These were events, elections events, where an individual, a 14-year-old boy was killed and nothing was done. No investigations. If they were done, we've not been able to get the report of those investigations. And also where we are concerned is about how if a particular area has been designated for political parties to sell their manifesto or to air out their elections activities to be voted for. They said their concern is how we should convey our supporters to those designations, going to and from those designations, there lies the lacuna. As I said in my opening statement, during the peace conference at Bintumani, I saw SLPP youth impersonating as APC, putting on APC t-shirt. One thing that they failed to do was having the APC ghetto youth printed in the coat of arms.
So to avoid all of those mix-up, those crises in the system, is that not why this ban should be welcomed?
It is against the fundamental principles of human rights of peaceful assembly. Let the PPRC do its job. Let the Sierra Leone police do its job. Designate a particular area, a particular route where political parties should use when going to their area. And the laws are already there. When you happen to go for public or street rallies, you go to the Sierra Leone police. There are always undertakings that you make as a political party.
None of the political parties, not the APC, not the SLPP, was willing to, according to the chairman, because that was on the table also as an alternative. That okay, you want to go on with the political rally, fine, but you will take responsibility in case of any incident of violence or mishaps or mayhem being caused. But you did not go for it.
But there lies the problem of failing to take responsibility. What is the responsibility of the Sierra Leone police? Their role is to ensure that the rallies, street rallies are being manned by police, ensuring that any intruders or troubleshooters or trouble causers should be kept at bay. I think we've been seeing that. I'm just from one of these West African countries. Political rallies, Sierra Leone is part part of the global village now. You don't even need to travel to Nigeria to happen to see when political rallies are being held. So we are calling on the Sierra Leone police, as young as we are, when we were about to undertake public activities at Port Loko and Makeni, we went for police clearances. And when you go for these police clearances, there are undertakings that you make on behalf of your political party.
Right.
That is why after our convention, we were so magnanimous as a political party that, yes, we appreciated the Sierra Leone police. We conducted a 3-day political convention and no incidences of violence was reported. So we are calling on the PPRC and other regulatory agencies that please, let us don't try to curtail the rights enshrined, in the Constitution of Sierra Leone for freedom of peaceful assembly.
Salu, so apparently the SLPP was not okay with the ban.
Thank you very much, Samuel. I think Ali was granted enough time and he could not still convince the audience with respect to their denial with the option of having alternatives. First, we have to ask a question. How do we reconcile the benefits of street rallies, if any, with the corresponding damages or minuses?
Has there been any benefit?
Well, yes, like certainly people will say it has always given opportunity for politicians to assemble, their supporters, and some will even presume by their calculations that we have the chance to win
from the
elections.
submissions here, it appears that the SLPP would love these rallies to go on.
So
because you accepted its reservation.
Yes, I listened keenly when the chairman was making his note. Yes, indeed, Reverend said the SLPP, of course, we said we have reservation.
Right.
And when you say reservation, it means you have not given an overall endorsement, an overall agreement to something.
There are concerns.
So, yes.
What are
and because to us, it is still a work in progress. You heard the chairman said they are working on guidelines, regulations. Matter of fact, I know that the implications generally of the ban means fundamentally Sierra Leone, or we the citizens have accepted the core values or provisions of our constitution. The chairman analyzed the relevance, and my brother here, Ali, have, referenced a number of clauses or sections in our constitution. Now, chapter 3 has sections 16 to 27. We call them protective provisions, where freedom of assembly, the right to expression, and the rest of it. But mind you, there is a prelude to that provision, those provisions. Section 15. Section 15 is very, very clear that in as much we as citizens are all entitled, we must equally bear the responsibility to protect those rights of others. Further, 28 now comes in as a closure to speak to these protective provisions. He made reference to the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, bringing in the United Nations, of course. Like I made reference earlier, the SLPP, unlike APC, is a party of tolerance and compliance. Article 23 of our Constitution says we always recognize existing laws, right? So the implications, we further say, we are resolving for the least evil. The least evil to us is the ban on street rallies. So we go for the alternatives. Perchance, the guidelines will now give the instructions, the directives, how we as political parties will conduct ourselves. And the implication for that means we've grown through our electoral culture. You know, when you play the interview across, the views were some saying that because it has survived over time, it means we must continue with it.
Right.
Yes, but that itself begs the question that Sierra Leone is a state that is ready to grow.
Well, and that view is not different from the view of the political parties, including the APC and the SLPP.
Well, the APC...
Except that the facade being presented to the public...
The APC, well, I don't want to say it's a facade. Perhaps it's coming from you.
No, for what I'm trying to say, yes.
The APC, Ali is here representing.
Right.
And he was not properly briefed. He said the Secretary General and Dr. Richard Conte attended.
Right.
So, matter of fact, what they submitted, we are recorded. So if Ali was properly briefed, or if the publicity team he's representing would have that opportune time to tell him that A, B, and C were the issues. Their only contention with that submission was, how do we get our supporters to these designated areas? And I was looking forward to that. He has, deviated. That was the argument, right? And further, the implication is to say, we are very conscious as citizens that we are now looking forward to the state first principle. Mind you, we have a Sierra Leone after the elections. Do we think we afford to risk? In fact, there are times when we go into elections or we engage around electoral activities, we even take the risk to, to reverse some of the gains we've made. Properties are destroyed. Streets are, of course, unwarranted traffic, like the area of school-going children, innocent Sierra Leoneans.
Disrupting daily activity.
Exactly. And this is, again, a violation of the ground norm, the 1991 Constitution, Section 15, I've just said that. That in as much Sections 16 to 27 are giving us rights, those rights are equally coming with an obligation, which is provided for in Section 15, that we must ensure we protect the rights of others. This is what we say. And over and above all, we are saying that the implication further, we mean that our electoral culture will influence other nations to admire Sierra Leone. You had a chairman who is on record to give a challenge that if any one of us seated can reference or point a country across Africa where the nature of street rallies or what Ali and others are asking for
just Kenya and
are
Nigeria.
done. And you see, the APC is synonymous to violence. When he was speaking, he made the effort to link violence or minuses of electoral compliance with the SLPP. But he could not.
Impersonating.
Yes. Now, let me just clarify that point. You see, 2007, let's get a flashback. We were here when the APC won the elections. Our party headquarters. We know what happened. Let me go into the history. 2012, when we won the elections, of course, we were denied. We know the corresponding ramifications. Our national PRO was, in prison, even the women's leader. The constituency 110 referenced. Imagine the day was assigned to the APC. And allegedly, members of the APC attacked our aspirants. The following day, the SLPP would have been opportune to do the same rally. We are banned. Imagine if SLPP were to come out, our supporters. You know how massive we have, supporters in the Western area. Then that was not going to end properly.
Right.
And recently, what happened? They went, Makini, they elected their flag bearer. We've done ours before them. It was a peaceful one. Remember, the flag bearer of the SLPP is the incumbent president. We had ours. There was nothing like a welcome program organized in Freetown to welcome His Excellency, the President, Dr. Julius Marabio. And recently at the Bintumani, where the running mate, the Honorable Vice President, was endorsed. We did not rally around Freetown saying we are going to welcome him. But what they did, imagine at 12 o'clock, the APC, operatives have to, send a message that they were coming from McKinney. Let me conclude this. Let me conclude this. That they were coming, Ali. I was so quiet. Yes, so they communicated that they were coming and that in fact, they wanted to compel the state to halt all other operations in the interest of welcoming the flag bearer. Only God knows the intent behind that. And at the end, what happened? Their National Secretary General, came up with, disruptive allegations. On one hand, he was saying this what happened. On the other hand, it was another story. Right. So these inconsistencies really do not find way.
Gentlemen, okay.
To,
let me quickly
to have the.
Let me quickly take some messages.
I think I still have viewers. I would love you give me more time.
I know. I know the time card. The time card does not sit. It does not sit with me. Well, let's continue quickly. Samadu from Freetown is saying political rallies are simply incorporating African practice in the political process. The practice is similar to lantern parades, mask and unmask, society, devil celebration, etc. Like festivals in other parts of Africa, and its diaspora in the Caribbean, UK, USA, and other parts of the world. That from Samadu in Freetown. We have so many messages. I'm going to struggle to go through the ones that really speak to the topic we're discussing here tonight, because like I mentioned, so many of them. But here is what Dr. Freddie Lawson in the UK is saying. There seems to be a misunderstanding of the meaning of democratic adherence